And for Josh and Kai, can we see your faces for the first at least 5 minutes? It's very important that we have you guys' faces, personalities, and everything else shine through. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Kai. Kai, I hope you're not driving.
No, I'm sitting in my car. I'm at work right now, but I'm
Oh,
on a
okay.
break.
Okay. All right. Okay. Move your camera up a little bit. We only see like a three. There you go. Okay, great. I'm expecting at least, well, Charles and Sergio and JP. So let me give them a friendly phone call here. See what's going on with them. Okay, there's Charles.
Sorry, everyone. I am here. Sorry, I'm a few minutes late.
Okay. Charles, I'm waiting for Sergio and JP. I'm going to give them another 2 minutes. Then we're recording this. We'll have to start without them. Oh, okay. It's Makari. Okay, so I'm going to start the clock for those two guys, but I'm going to give them one more call. Okay, there's Sergio.
Okay.
Hello?
JP, did you get the Zoom call? Are you able to join?
Yeah. Yeah. Give me like 10, 15 minutes and I'll join.
Okay, all right. I'm just gonna send it. Well, do you have the link?
I think you emailed it to
Okay,
me, right?
all right. Just come in when you can.
All right, for sure. I'll be in there in a second.
Okay, guys. I think we got everybody that's coming on board. All right. Thank you again for being here today. And there is no agenda that I have. So without further ado, I want to turn it over to Charles and Dr. Reg. This is being recorded for a couple of folks that will not be able to be with us, but we want to make sure that we have everybody's attention. Like to get everybody's faces up so that Charles and Dr. Reg can know who we're talking to. So in a very professional matter, this is an audition for us to take on a potential statement of work. So if everybody can let us see your face, this is the way that we're going to present ourselves moving forward. Okay, appreciate it. And Makari, if you can, just for a few minutes, if you're at work or something, I understand, but please let us see your face for the very first time. Man, put some. Oh,
Sorry, I'm working right now. I was looking for a shirt.
okay. All right. Well, I tell you, get the camera and then put the shirt on and then come back.
Got you. Sorry.
Okay, young folks. Okay, I got you guys. Okay, so we're in the presence of two producers, and Charles, do you want to kick it off, or do you want Dr. Reginald to kick it off as to the statement of work?
Well, I'll get into it in a second. I think it's important that they know at least what I'm doing right now and my background, because you want to know who you're working with and having a history of how I got to where I am, because it's a very unconventional journey. Dr. Austin, his is also unconventional. For some reason, I can't find the darn scope of work document. So after I do my intro myself, Reg, I'm gonna turn it over to you, and you do that, and then I'll look for that document. Anyway, Charles Johnson. I'm originally from Chicago. I always wanted to be involved in TV and film, and back in the Stone Ages when I was a kid. They didn't have anything like Entertainment Tonight, Extra, anything like that. Certainly not YouTube. So we didn't know how anything got on TV or on the silver screen. It was just a big mystery. But short of a longer story, I found a program, especially from the Midwest. It just didn't exist. If you're in California, you know, Warner Brothers and Paramount, they're down the street, so it's a little bit easier. But I found some media production programs out in Chicago, got involved in that, and that eventually led to me going to summer film camps when I was in high school. When I got into college, I focused on film production. Southern Illinois University at the time was one of the top film schools in the Midwest. That's pretty sad now I'm thinking about it. And then transferred to Columbia, Chicago, which is where I graduated. At that time, which Columbia, Chicago had some pretty big names coming out, especially for the Midwest. Janusz Kaminski, he was a cinematographer. He worked exclusively with Spielberg. Ted Wichter, who did the film Love Jones. George Tillman, who did the Soul Food films and television shows. So those are kind of where, kind of help establish that school, and uh, really kind of help build up the program, and strengthen my interest in Hollywood. Once I graduated, I moved straight to California. Got a job pretty quickly at Warner Brothers, working for different TV shows. Well, one show in particular, and it was aired on ABC. I think it was ABC. Yeah, it was aired on ABC. I worked directly for the writers. And by the way, my focus had turned strictly to writing by the time I was a sophomore in college, because I sucked behind the camera. Terrible. I cannot make things look good. I know what looks good. I just can't make it look good. So I left that to the cinematographers, the hot shots, the strong lighting crews and all that stuff, and just focus on storytelling. So moved to Hollywood, got a job working for Warner Brothers, different TV shows, strictly for the writers, and a lot of learning what to do, a lot of learning what not to do. I would say, and you guys are probably, if you have been in film school, get on a big production set, or any really, even an independent production set. You will learn more in 1 month than you can in 2 years in film school. The application of real life experiences you just cannot replicate. We're all on this call people of color, so there's there was that aspect as well of nepotism, and I'm not going to call it racism, but certainly challenges dealing with inclusion were more rampant than they are now. And a little stroke of luck went my way, but I always say this to anybody: hard work creates luck. And if you're not working, luck's not going to come your way. So the harder you work, the luckier you're going to get. So keep doing what you're doing, and everything that you're striving for will happen. And here's how I know. Back in the Stone Ages, when I was trying to be a writer in the 1 hour episodic world, there were literally 5 writers, period, on all television networks that were Black. That was it. There are plenty of slots for half-hour comedies. You want to do Martin and Homeboys in Outer Space. That thing Living Single, that was kind of hot at the time. But that wasn't my interest. I wanted to do the shows like Law and Order and the procedural episodic shows. And I met with the writer, who was one Black writer, And he told me that story. He said it's going to be a very hard, uphill climb for you. So I'm letting you know that, just so you know, if you're ready to run, run now. And I didn't give up. I stayed with it. I didn't care anyway. It was that's just not my personality. But I stuck with it. I eventually got my shot as a writer, thank goodness, because my writing style was more in the line of the flawed hero. And so this show called The Sopranos had just popped up, and this guy that I had been working with for that I knew for years, he wound up becoming eventually the second in charge, the co-executive producer on The Sopranos. He hired me as his assistant. He rose, I rose, and he really helped me out. It put me in front of the right people so I could get exposure. But I took my butt home every night. I sat down and I wrote, and I built up my portfolio. So whenever anyone ever wanted to see a script, I can just pull it out. Didn't matter what type of genre they were looking for within 1 hour world. Even if they wanted to see a screenplay, I had it done. So I eventually got lucky where a producer gave me a shot, and I eventually started writing for different TV shows. So I worked in the studio systems. I was at Paramount. I had a development deal with CBS. Wrote a couple of really bad movies, but they paid well, so I'm not gonna complain too much. 2008 happened, came around, and it kind of upended the business. The rise of reality TV, the rise of Netflix, the writer strike that year, it really changed the business. I was probably on my fourth different television show as a writer, and it was last hired, first fire. And I wasn't high enough on the totem pole at the producer level where they can keep me. And they were all the below the line people, that includes staff writers, executive story editors, even co-producers. They were not invited back. And I just didn't, at that point, didn't want to keep going on at that, it was a starving artist lifestyle, paid well, starving artist, but nonetheless, I just didn't want to keep doing it. So I started working in film distribution just to kind of learn the backbone in business. And oh my goodness, did I really learn it? And to the degree that there are people who top directors in the business, they don't know what I know, because they don't need to know. They make enough money, they don't care. Just give me my check, I'll deliver a beautiful product, and I don't care the process of getting there. But for people like us, it's important that you know all of it. And my learnings from film distribution have been invaluable. I realized that I knew that business very well inside and out, but I didn't know business at all. So I went back to grad school. I got my MBA at Pepperdine, and I started putting the pieces together. And right around that time, Netflix was becoming Netflix that we know today. And I saw a way to kind of monetize a lot of those streaming platforms. I applied for a patent with the United States Patent Trade Office. I got the patent. I started a business around it. Got some clients, some of the streaming services to sign up to it. And then that little mouse called Disney came in, started using the technology without my permission. I had to sue them. And of course, I don't have that kind of money. They dropped $3.5 million to make me go away, and I had to close the business down. One of the things that I had when I had that business was a training program integrated into it, where my chief technical officer, CTO, we got an invite from Louisiana State University and some of the community colleges out that way to integrate training programs, where our CTO essentially teach a class on what we needed to run our business. And then they would essentially be employed by us. Everyone walks away. We get what we need. They get paid, and they have something on their resume. That part I liked. So once I had to close the business down, I got into economic development. So I run a program for Los Angeles County called boy, I forgot what do we call
California
them
Job
now?
First, California Job First, formerly
They
Surf.
changed the darn name. Yeah, they changed the darn name on us. Where essentially the premise is along the lines of what I did at my tech company was to help create jobs, livable wage jobs for people that look like us. Now, you break that down, break what type of jobs are we talking about? We're looking at aerospace, bioscience, transportation, construction, and one of them, because we live in Hollywood, is video and film production. This is where Kevin Clark comes in. So this is kind of like a really strange, but once in a lifetime opportunity where the government is getting involved in something, where the state government, that is, getting involved in something like this. So I'm anticipating there are going to be a lot more opportunities coming in. I don't think that the county has taken this as seriously as they could, but they have put some money towards it already. But when Kevin came, I've been watching Kevin over the past year. He's really been diligent in helping people look like us, get more exposure in the business. I'm sure you all been in a situation where you've heard, oh, this training program. Great. You come out of the training program, nothing happens. We want to try to get rid of that. At the end of the day, you want to get on your resume, on your IMDb page, which is, your resume. Your IMDb page is your resume. You want to have produced by or producer. That's where you want to get, so people can really start taking you serious. And all of these entry level, production assistant, that's great. That's great. I went through that. It's great to say you're a PA at Warner Brothers, all right? But the fight that you have to do to get to that producer level is just almost insurmountable these days, especially with streaming. There's a lot more opportunities, but there's a lot more competition. There's a lot less money than it used to be back in my day. I'm still getting residuals on something I did, 15 years ago. Not a lot, but I'm still getting residuals. I don't know if you guys will have that opportunity. So the next best thing is get you to the producer level. So if you guys are willing to roll up your sleeves, do the work, to get to that level, that's what we want to do here. So I'm going to shut up right now. I'm going to pass it over to one of the smartest people I know, Dr. Reginald Austin. We've known each other since we were 18 years old. Go ahead, Reg, you take over from here.
You need to meet more people. If I'm the smartest person, I'll try to be brief. So basically, my path is to this actually is not linear either. It's really I started in medicine, stayed in medicine, and then happened to start a music management firm with a publishing arm in Sweden. So I'm originally from Chicago, but I've spent the last, except for the time I've been here, I've been back into California, for 3.5 years, I think. But before that, I was in Sweden for the last 21 years or something like that. That's where actually I'll be going back and forth between Stockholm and Los Angeles. So basically, I'm still steeped in medicine and research. I have a lab at the medical school in Gulu, Uganda. I teach there still, and I also teach in Tanzania, in Dar es Salaam. So in terms of the show that we've created, if you guys don't know, the basic idea of this show is it's an interview show, but we are looking at points of connection between people, right? So that we're actually bringing out people's common experiences. And so when we interview, for instance, a celebrity, we're not focusing on them as a celebrity, but more as them as a person. So for instance, when I met Sergio, when was that? I met Sergio, was it last week or this week? last week, yeah?
Yeah, it was last week. Yes, sir.
Okay. And this person I didn't know, and we started to talk, and we had all kinds of commonalities. He'd gone to Illinois State University, which was impossibly. I mean, if you look at the statistical chances of that, it's really, really low. He happens to also be from Chicago. And he also is a martial artist, as am I. So you have all these points of connection that we didn't know. We could not have possibly have known. But the strange thing that happens is this guy comes in with, good looking young guy with his long hair. I'm bald, I'm having insecurities about this whole thing. Not really, but the idea is this: the more commonality I found with him, the more I wanted him in that room, the more I wanted to learn. He became much more human to me, and that connection's there. And you want to help people that are like you, so that otherness goes away, and that commonality is how we build these connections. So this is actually what this show does in a nutshell. What more should I say about this? So did I leave something out?
Well, I think we should. Oh, go ahead, Kevin.
I was going to say, is it possible to put the link of the just the faces that you showed us in the meeting, the physical meeting we had, so they can get some visual on some of the folks that interviewed?
I can just put that into
Or just share your screen just so they can see it, one of the two.
okay, let's do that really quickly. Let me just
Okay.
not long ago, let me just bring it up really quickly.
Okay, do you see that you have screen sharing?
I haven't even checked yet. I'm just gonna bring up the link first and then see if we can do it. Okay. So for those who don't know, let me just go ahead and share this really quickly with you. There it is there. Okay. So this is not a fancy website. It's not supposed to be. It's only for internal, like for discussions like this. And I had this done because trying to describe it over and over became problematic. So it's just easier to have a basic overview, which is up here. But the show up to this point has been produced in 3 locations. That's in Stockholm, Sweden. We've shot in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, and then also we'll be shooting in Los Angeles. So some of the guests that we actually have are, these are not necessarily in season 1. These are just some of the people we've already, that are part of the show. So Charles is talking about his mentor, Frank Renzulli, who's a known writer, actor, and producer. When we get this produced, if this is the team that brings that together, it's going to be an incredible episode. Julene is, so you probably have all heard of the Nobel Prize in Physiology and Medicine. What a lot of people don't know, there are only 50 people in the world at any given time that selects the Nobel Prize for Medicine and Physiology. She's one of those people. And it's an unlikely story too, because she actually grew up, I think she was born in Wisconsin, studied a bit in Indiana, and she actually moved to Europe to become a big thing in academic research versus the other way around. A lot of people move from Europe to come to the United States to the institutions here, but she's at the Karolinska Institute, which is the school, where once people win the Nobel Prize, they have to go to Karolinska Institute to do that. I actually been to the Nobel Prize twice. It was really a great time. And I think it's the top 10 medical school, one of the top 10 medical schools in the world. So it's just an interesting place for people to be. Tosh actually is a clean tech investor. And his story is really interesting. It's not as connected as these are, but I think his story was really interesting. Hearing about how he grew up, and it really deals much more with environmental racism and actually what he went through, and the fact that he actually got sick. He lost, what was it, 3 relatives, Charles?
3 that I know of. Yeah.
Yeah, he lost 3 relatives to FSG. It's a relatively aggressive kidney disorder that required him to actually, I think it was a year ago now, just over a year ago, that he had to get a new transplant with this. It was 3 people. I forgot how they actually arranged it, but it was, that alone is a story. And to see the level of success he's actually had. And I know that part of his interest in clean tech was because the toxic environment in which he and his young relatives, his cousins, were raised coming up in Dallas. These two guys, Dr. Chilo and Dr. Frederick Micheli, these guys are how I actually got to Tanzania. So they're both physicians who studied in Tanzania, but then what they did also their PhD. So Dr. Chilo did his PhD in Germany and Munich specifically, and Frederick did his at the Karolinska Institute. He was actually we were working together on. We actually have, I think, a publication together. But they're interesting because they had to live in two different cultures essentially simultaneously. So they were in a sandwich program going back and forth. And if you've spent any time in Africa, there are a lot of similarities, but there are a lot of things that are really, really different. And so they had to, navigate these two completely different environments at the same time. And in actuality, I know that Frederick at one point had brought his young son and his wife to live there too, but he was still going back and forth. And their tale of what they were going through and what was surprising and new to them is really interesting to hear. Mike Starr is an actor. I know both of these guys through Charles, and I won't say much more about him. You probably have seen him in a number of different things. He's still in movies. He was in Dumb and Dumber most famously, Goodfellas, Ed Wood, just a number of different titles in addition to several TV shows. And the last two people, this is Jason Diakité, known as Timbuktu. He's essentially, he's a legendary rapper in Sweden. And his story is that his parents actually, I'd known about him when I first moved to Sweden many years ago. And people kept telling me he was American. And I had heard that many times. It didn't mean anything until I discovered during the interview that his parents were actually both American and not in a typical sense. So typically we have, you can have a Black male moves to Sweden and has a child with a white Swedish woman. That wasn't the case at all. Both of his parents were American, and they moved there because his dad actually was doing a doctoral study at the time. So he actually grew up in a household where American English was being spoken, and he would step out of that world and he would become, just disorganized him because he was, of course, biracial. He wasn't Swedish. He wasn't really American in the sense that he'd never been to America when he was younger. And his dad actually did everything he could to sort of divorce him from his Americanness, because being a Black male, he didn't want his son to go through any of those typical difficulties that Black men face. And then lastly is KJ. She's Akta. She's actually a person from Turkey who grew up very much alienated in school, just in life in general. She's an accomplished ballet dancer, once ran the number one or one of the number one ballet supply companies in Turkey. But she's also a very brilliant coder. Her story gets really interesting, not just what her experiences in Turkey, which sort of mimics what happens oftentimes to Blacks in the US. When she actually came to the US, she brought a lot of those experiences and a lot of that baggage with her. So it didn't occur to her that in this new environment, she could take on a completely different identity. And when I first met her, she told me, she knew what Black people were like, and she felt like she identified with Black people. And I'm like, well, I thought she had mental problems. Like, what are you talking about? And in fact, it made sense when she started to talk about her experiences. And I don't know if you guys know much about how the Kurds are treated in Turkey. It is not good. It's open, it's unapologetic, and what they go through is horrible. And there aren't any laws that's making it better. There is no equivalent of human rights, campaigns, these kinds of things. They don't care. So it was interesting to talk to her about that, and in her interview, she actually goes through those experiences, and I think makes a lot of those connections with the people that actually will be seeing her, the viewing public. And then these are the people who are actually sort of in front of the camera. But in terms of that, you can drop me out of there. I want to actually get away from being in front of the camera. I was only there because I needed to be, so to speak. But now that we have new people coming on and people that are interested in taking on those roles, it'll be very much, something that I would love to see, because I don't have any interest in, becoming the face of anything at this point. I would really like to see, for instance, we're also going to do this show, a Spanish version of this show, which has the same setup, same format, but it's going to be targeting a Latina audience. And someone like Sergio, I think, would be very good to be one of the hosts of that show. Did I leave anything out? I have a tendency to do that. Either I overtalk and over explain things, or I leave things out.
Well, there's our delivery styles are completely different. Because I would have described the show a little bit differently from him, but it's Kopplingen, is Swedish for the connection, to Reginald's point. And you're trying to find that connection between, definitely between, human beings, but also between, people like us. So when Reginald was talking about like the woman from Turkey, Kurdish people, they don't consider themselves Turkish. And if you say, oh yeah, the Turkish person, like that's like essentially calling me white. They're ready to go, like, go to war, with you. You don't call me that, So it's really interesting. And when you hear these stories, just like, well, shit, that's just like how we were treated here in America, Like, and we don't think about those types of things. Yet when if you don't know anything about this person, you look at them like, oh, that's just a white girl. But she's going, in her brain, her entire existence is the same thing that we go through. So it's, everything, there's a connection there, and the way things actually look is not the way it really is. So every one of those people in the slide that Dr. Austin showed, there's something that's completely reversed about him. Frank Renzulli, he has 2 or 3 Golden Globes from Sopranos, 4 or 5 Emmy nominations from Sopranos. Been in rooms with the biggest producers, on the planet, executives on the planet. If he can spell college, I'll be surprised. Never went to college. I take it back. He went for 1 semester. He went to Boston College for 1 semester. Grew up in the projects. Everything that he talked, the way we bonded. Because I didn't want nothing to do with the dude when I first heard him. What is this guy? Get out of here. But within 15 minutes, him talking about old school R&B music, like, how the hell we know about all of that? He knew more, but when he brought up about Good Times, like, oh yeah, that was the show for me, because that's when things like, well, where is this guy from? His entire existence was along the lines of what Black people go through. So having that connection and showing, like, how did you go from the projects of Boston to being, a Golden Globe winning producer in Hollywood? Taj, how did you go from living in this cesspooled environment where half of your family was wiped out to becoming one of the top, venture capitalists in the state of California? Not just funding anybody that has an idea. You're funding people you're funding the venture capitalist funds. It's only so many people in the world that can even do that. So hearing these stories is, you're looking at someone and you're getting, your eyes are, painting this narrative of what you see, and then you actually talk to them and it's completely reversed. So you guys are going to have the opportunity to, like, really kind of play along with the vision, juxtapose those images and videos going along with what they're saying in their stories. I want to get you guys in a position, not only, where you're going to just be exercising your chops. Anybody can shoot anything. Most of this is talking heads. with the exception of the B-roll stuff where you're going to be creative and shoot, or, maybe have to license some content in order to integrate into the overall stories. But for the most part, we want you to be creative. We want you to get to the point where, you're owning this and you're taking this and you're crafting a strong narrative that's going to engage an audience. And to Dr. Austin's point, we're going to have a season 2 where we want to focus on the Latinx community, because their stories, I don't think, has been told, certainly not in an attractive way, an attractive mainstream way. And there are a lot of stories out there that should be told. And if we can provide that platform, pretty boy over here, Sergio, who's a mix of Black and Latino, that'd be really good. And so at the end of all of this, I want all of you to be in a position where you can walk away with something. There's no guarantee that somebody will pick this up and distribute it, but it's looking very darn good at this point. So why not have your name attached to this as a producer? Not just, oh yeah, I worked on the camera. And we all have those stories, just like, yeah, I worked on that. So what? I don't see your name in the credits. You do if it's buried knee deep down, at the end of the show when no one gives a shit, and then you got to go out there and fight to get your next job. You're gonna have to fight to get your job anyway, even as a producer. So why not aim high? Here's that opportunity, and I think that Kevin is put himself in a position to help a lot of you guys, and essentially we're just the instrument to help you get there. So if you're ready to really jump ahead in the line, let's go to work on this project. I have the scope of work. It's no use me putting it up on the screen. You know how to read. I'll just drop it in the chat. You take a look at it when you're ready, and circle back with Dakar with Kevin, and you guys talk it over, and we set up a meeting to go through all of that stuff again. But I know, this is what I know about Kevin, is that Kevin works his ass off. This program that I run it's contracted, so I'm not going to be here forever. But I'm glad that I did take it, because I'm meeting so many people. I'm learning so much about Los Angeles. It's really solidified the work ethic in California. Chicago, New York, people work their ass off. They're not afraid to work. They're not afraid to, do certain jobs. They don't, for the most part, don't feel they're below anything. So sort of things like you just, I'm past that. I'm not doing it. But for the most part, if something needs to be done, just get it done. All right. I don't see that too much here. And when I'm seeing in this position and I'm working with this program that I run, I see a lot of people's two things. I'm above that. I'm not going to do it. Or they're lazy and they don't want to do anything. They just want to stand around and complain and wait for somebody to give them something because they're entitled. And he's not that person. While people standing around doing all of that stuff, he's out, making things happen. He's executing. So if you guys are working with him, that's telling me that you share that same work ethic. And that's what those are the type of people that I like to work with. There are going to be opportunities. I've already started talking to, reaching to my contacts, to, let other people that I know that I like for them to talk to you guys about experiences. I haven't worked in streaming yet. I've talked with some of the streaming companies, but I haven't worked in them. I've been contracted to do anything. I know the studio system very well. I know film and television distribution very well. But the streaming market I'm a little fuzzy on, but I got it covered through other people that I know. And I want you guys to be able to hear all of these different things. I want you to understand the agreements that may come your way. So you'll at least have a ballpark figure. Oh, Charles was talking about this before. I may want to make sure I stay away from that or counter their agreements, counter their offer with something else. So all of this stuff, I'll eventually be able to talk with you guys, and I'm not going to be putting on classes or anything like that. I'll just be pulling you aside and talking with you. So I'm excited to work with you guys. I appreciate any efforts in advance that you're going to be doing. you know, we're looking to finish up this season of the Connection, Copeland Union, as soon as possible. But you know, we have another season that we want to get you guys, you know, keep you guys attached to as the production team. And like I said, nobody here, well, Ryan and Sergio heard this. We're not credit whores. We don't. I can care less about what they say about my name on there. I'm not looking this. I'm not in it for the money. I'm in this to create something that's meaningful and to get other people that look like me in a position where they're, you know, skyrocketing and towards the moon. Because this, if you don't do it, ain't nobody gonna do it for you. So we don't know if this is gonna be a success, but we know other ways that aren't gonna be a success. So let's go for it. You guys have any questions?
I've got one. I'll let Sergio go first. Go ahead, Sergio.
Thank you again for your time. I again, I appreciate, meeting with us once again. I did have a question, a couple of things. We were talking about in terms of, like I said, you said you wanted to get the second season started ASAP. Like, what is your guys' timetable for getting those that started?
Okay, so if I said that, I misspoke. We want to finish this season ASAP.
Right. Okay.
Second season,
yeah.
we want to develop, and
Okay.
we want to develop that with. That's actually a good question because we want to develop second season with you guys.
Okay.
So, for example, you were in the meeting when we first met you and Ryan. You were talking
Yes, sir.
about the one woman that you guys know from who runs Telemundo.
Yes.
You have that relationship. Let's set it
Mhm.
up. You know, let's try to see if
Do
she'd
it.
be a subject to talk about. You know, essentially give. How did you get from where you were to where you are?
Mhm.
You
Absolutely.
know, that's essentially it. We follow the format of where it is. We can have a war room, so to speak, where we sit down
Mhm.
and we list out, um, throw a bunch of names on a board or a virtual board,
Mhm.
and trying to drill down. You know, who are we going to wound up? Who's going to end up being the subjects that we're going to actually film?
Do you have a number of people that you have in mind? Like, I want to make sure, like this one, what was it, like 6, 7 people? Do you guys still the same thing? Do you still want like that many people? Do you have a cap on it?
I think we'll probably be able to determine how many subjects we'll have for second season after once we get closer to finalizing this first season.
Okay. Okay.
In a perfect world, I like to get to the point where this first season is strong enough where they're saying, "Oh shit, okay, we may need to pick this up." And by the way, we got second season in development right now. If you want to
Right.
do some pre-sales, let's talk about that.
Okay.
That's all the business part of it. You'll eventually learn it. But
Mhm.
uh, as we're developing it, we again want to develop it with you guys,
Okay.
where you're,
Okay.
in charge of your own episode. One of the things that was what I loved about my very first contracted writing job, it was with ABC. I was just a staff writer. Actually, no, I wasn't even a staff writer at that point. I was an independent. The rules were at that time, they were only give out 2 episodes. It was 20 every TV show, network TV show was 22 episodes per season. 2 of those episodes they had to give out to the public. We know they're giving it to their friends or whatever. But I got to the position where, okay, let's give it to the black guy, And so I had the opportunity to write one episode, but I wasn't part of the staff. It was a la carte. Write the episode, get out. But I did such a good job. I got it done on time. I got it done early. It was
Mhm.
exactly what they wanted. And this is what you want. I'll give you this because you guys may experience something like this. There's a production company, there's the studio, there's the network. All right. The production company is Warner Brothers. We're hiring you to use our equipment or use your own equipment to shoot this. Now we may give you some notes on how to shoot it, which filters to use, all of this, blah, 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 to make sure that once we get this distributed through ABC or HBO, whatever, that it has that look and feel of it, that they want. Then there's the studio. Warner Brothers is a studio. They have executives in line. We have the relationships with with the networks, with ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, all the cable networks, streaming. We have those relationships. So we'll let's find out what type of shows they want to distribute on their networks or platforms now, and we'll see if we can get you closer. But there's still the network, and they are that's the 800-pound gorilla in the room. That's the one you want to please. So they're the ones that's like, yeah, we like that show. We're going to pick that up. Yeah, we give you, for network, 22 episodes, for cable, 13 episodes, for, streaming, 6 episodes, whatever hell it is. We'll give you that. This is what you don't want. You don't want to finish writing something and have a 45-minute meeting with the production company, an hour meeting of notes with the studio, and a 45-minute notes, 45-minute meeting of notes with the network. Eventually, they're going to say, he's a headache, she's a headache, get him out of there, get somebody else. We're directing them too much. One of the things why I was able to come out of nowhere, as they say, and rise up quickly, was that production company, 5 minutes of notes. Studio, 5 minutes of notes. Networks, 5 minutes of notes. All these other seasoned writers who, had them, tying up their time, they eventually just started giving me their episodes to write. That's what you want. So when you get to that, when you get those opportunities, you got to be prepared. I brought that up for a reason. So it's about the studio network. I can't even remember what the heck I was talking about now in order to get to that point. Regardless, I want to get you to follow the episode. So when you're done writing it, or developing, everything is ready to be shot, now this is where the fun part begins, because you get to see everything unravel. You get to see the sets, you get to see all your everything that's here materialize. And so not every show does this. They'll allow the writer to follow their episode. You work with the director. Is this the vision that you had when you were writing it? Tell me how I can make this stronger. What's the connection between it? Obviously, you have, you're open to notes from them. If they say, I see what you did here, what if we did this? Yes, that makes more sense. Let's do it that way. Or you may not want to do it that way. Here's why. Those are really, and once you're done shooting, you go into the editing room. You're literally following your episode until it's done. That's what I would like for you guys to do. So when second season comes, we would like to get to the point of just like, Ryan, one of your, just like, I think we should focus on this woman here because she's done this. She rose from this to that. And, no one would ever expected that. And this is a story I think would be important because of X, Y, Z. Okay, let's set it up. You get the interviews, you get this, you follow everything. We want you to be able to follow your own episode. So we want to keep it just that simple. We're essentially laying out a very basic format for a very basic type of show. The theme of the show, Dr. Austin already set that up with the connection. And then everything else, we want you to have it. And you walk away with it, produced by, or producer. I'll explain that in a second. Producer, Ryan Alexandria. Producer, Sergio Vicente. This is what we want you walking away with. So you have something proud that you can walk away with, not, I was a PA on that. All right, you're a dime a dozen.
Also, think that's perfect. Also, are you both, Dr. Reginald and Charles, are you guys both active on LinkedIn also?
I put their LinkedIn's in the chat.
I know, I'm just wondering because if you guys are active on it.
Oh, active, meaning participate with it, occasionally. Like, I threw an article, a video up there myself. I what do you call it, in the Waymo car. You know, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's I'm not really a social media person all that much anyway.
Okay.
Why do you ask?
Okay. No, I just want to say if we wanted to contact you guys, we could actually, you know, it should like, is that the best avenue to go through, or email, or anything? If we have any questions or anything like that.
Oh, okay. I thought it was
Yeah, email me.
some
Let me just
strategic
put my
reason.
email in right away. Because
Yeah.
LinkedIn, I try to be active, but I have no problem with people contacting me.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know we spoke
So there you go.
about, thank you, sir. I know we spoke about you know, distribution and things like that, and you were talking about the business aspect of it. Is that something that, you know, like as we get on further through this process, it's just something that organically we will discuss, or like what are your thoughts on that?
I'll find the right time. I'll find the right time.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you,
Yeah.
sir.
Because it's information overload in one session.
Facts.
And it'll be too much. It'll start making sense when
Okay.
just like, okay, you know, let's go grab a lunch. It may be something like that. Let's all
Okay.
go grab a lunch. We sit down, lunch and learn type of thing.
Dope.
But we'll figure it out.
Thank you.
Okay, so I had a question before we break contact. I believe the role that I want to try and play as a production company slash agency is to be able to try and make sure that we deliver any services through the statement of work that you guys submit to us, but to be able to do this as a collective where everybody that's part of the statement of work gets assigned and apportioned not only credits, but any fees or any cost of producing their specific thing that they're supposed to be doing in that particular role. But what I would like to know is there any specifications that we can get on how the other 8 episodes were shot? Not just specs on what cameras were used, editing software, but anything else that we can get to replicate what you guys have done so that we can match up any of the pre-production for the episode that we may be in a position to do, but to maybe potentially augment that episode so that it does, you know, again, match, but then there's maybe some transparent overlays to something that maybe the other episodes don't have. And for
Okay.
example, if we were using an agency point of view, and we said that with this particular episode, we want to also apply to that episode's some expansion of what this episode could do is a business model, connecting to other things that maybe you as the producer said, okay, yeah, we'd like to do these things as a way to extend the value proposition, not only to all the business partners, but to building audience. And those are the things that I've been experimenting with my project, is how to use XR, AR, VR, and some of the other technologies to not only tell stories, but to bring audience into the story so that they can connect with the, you know, with the narrative and the through line for any episode that we're able to get. And I think the biggest question is there any chance for us to see any of the episodes so that we can get a look and a feel for what has already been put in the can? So it's kind of a two-part question.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, maybe a two-part question. Specs, and then can we actually look at some of the episodes?
So, Reginald, I'll let you answer about the footage of the subjects that's been shot, but in terms of a template for each episode, there's not anything like that. Most of that is going to come from obviously the look and feel of the show once we start getting down to identifying how the opening is going to be, the transitions in between shows, what's going to be maybe some of the voiceover dialogue that'll be added to some of the interviews. A lot of that'll happen during that development, and I'll be there to kind of help guide some of that I keep saying look and feel. I can't, my brain is like jello. I can't think of the term. The consistency
The
of the show.
continuity.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, so all of that's going to be outlined, but it's important for, you know, anything that I do, get it in the can first. Get it in the can. Like, you know, how you get in the can, you know, yeah, you can't come up with a blueprint for, you know, for something like that. But you're dealing with so many, you know, this isn't Charlie Rose, you know, where or you know, the Tonight Show where you got a desk and you know that the host's gonna be sitting here and the guest's gonna be sitting there, and then the stage over there with a guest comedian, the other stage over there with the musicians. It's not that prescriptive. So we're dealing with so many different subjects and, you know, different life experiences. You know, let's just get it in the can, and then we can always find a way to, you know, create continuity creatively once we have everything, because sometimes that's where the war room comes in, where you sit down and just, you know, kind of map a lot of those things out. So what I can tell you is and you'll see in the scope of work that I'm real specific in how that opening comes. And once you see that, and just kind of the opening of the show, and then how it transitions into the actual body of the show, then you'll understand, oh, okay, we got flexibility to create, you know, continuity going forward. And it obviously season 1 will be the blueprint and the template for season 2.
One more question.
So,
Oh,
yeah.
go ahead, Dr. Reginald. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, in terms of the show that's been shot, I mean, right now, all the footage is with the editor that we hired for to do, well, that part of the post-production. But with respect to, we actually shot things, we went to where people were. So in Tanzania, we were just sitting in a lab. It's not fancy, but that is the condition. That's what they work with. That is their environment. In Sweden, it was just basically shot in Jason's office. When we went to do the Julene, the Nobel Prize lady, we did it in her lab. So it was, you know, it was that sense of, okay, we will try to meet these people where we are. The only ones that are actually being shot kind of studio-ish, if I can take liberties with the language, will be the last 2 interviews. And I agree with Charles where, you know, once we have everything in a can, that falls on the creativity also of the production team is, okay, we have these things, we understand the show, there are elements that are going to be consistent with the opening and that sort of thing in the close, but how do we actually bring this together? And there's definitely a way to do it once we actually, you know, you have a chance to look at the show. I think so that it's going to be something you'll get a sense of it. But more than anything else, you know, once these are shot, it's not just the show that just sits down, you just, you know, have the person just goes through and just answers these questions. Like Charles has said before, there has to be B-roll, there has to be something to really illustrate those stories as they're talking. You know, you have to have something that's going to pull, however interesting they may be. We need that element of being able to move the story along. We need that imagery there.
So to kind of piggyback on that, Kevin, being prescriptive, and I'm hesitant to show any material that's been shot, not because, you know, I want to hide anything. I don't give a shit. What I don't want is to put anything in anybody's head on this call. I want you to pay attention to the subject, and then that, like, make that drive you into like how you drive your vision of how it should be shot. Otherwise, you know, it is at risk of being prescriptive. And I'm trying to avoid that. So this will be kind of an exercise for the team on the call, and expanding the team, it's fine too. But, you know, being in the writer's room, you know, and I'm just saying writer's room, but it could be, you know, the directors are in the writer's room, the producers are in the right. I don't know if you guys know that, but for producers for TV are completely different for producers for film. Are you guys aware of that? Okay. So producers for, let's go with film first. Producers for film, they have specific, no, they're more flexible in what their duties are. So with the exception of executive producer is the person who put up the money or the person who has access to getting the money. Producer, that can be anything. That can be anybody. You know, just I helped get Brad Pitt for the movie. I produced Brad Pitt for you to do this movie. Therefore, I want a producer's credit. There's the, you know, actual like a line producer, you know, like they're actually doing some serious work there. So we know that. But sometimes, and you'll probably see stories about like the Academy had to crack down on a number of producers getting awards for, you know, Oscars, and because, you know, guy who was a dentist, you know, last year, he's getting an Oscar because he's friends with, you know, the talent and wound up getting produced. Okay, it's too much now. So they had to limit the number. So the limiting the number of producers on a film project now has become like you have to perform some specific function to be considered a bona fide producer in terms of being able to qualify for the Producers Guild of America, and you know, qualifying for, you know, some of the hardware. Now producers for TV, completely different. When you see executive story editor, co-producer, producer, supervising producer, co-executive producer, executive producer, they're all writers, period. They have different levels of responsibility, but they're just all writers. The only one when you see produced by, that is not a writer. That is the line producer. That's essentially the project manager to make sure everything is getting to the set on time, that, you know, that everything is needed in order to make that, to get that production stay on time, preferably under budget. So it's important that you know that. Now, when as producers, you know, for televisions, for what we're trying to do, there are generally two ways to run a room. It's a writer's room. It's everybody get in the room and you break a story. Okay, we're here. What's episode 2 going to be about? Well, and then everybody goes, you know, kind of figures it out, and you get the whiteboard out, and, you know, you put process of elimination, all that kind of stuff. I don't like doing things that way because it gets messy. There are other ways to do it, just more like, you're doing episode 5, come back with brilliance, we'll give you notes on it. There's a billion ways to do it, but regardless, you want to have that experience where you've been in a room with a bunch of writers, your peers, to really come up with ways to take conceptual idea all the way through execution. That's going to make you, when you're sitting down, you know, across from somebody at Sony Pictures, and they're talking to you about a, you know, an idea, your original idea that you want to get on their platform or Netflix platform, that you have those experiences is not foreign to you. Oh yeah, we did that already. You know, in fact, we did that and the other. You can talk about you know, your fails, and you can talk about your successes. Nobody wants you failing on their dime. They want to hear, and I'll tell you that this is any type of investors. You know, tell us about your failures. Oh, I didn't have any. You ain't getting their money, because all that's saying is you're gonna screw it up on their dime. When you come in just like, yep, we made a lot of mistakes. We did this, but it made us do this, and we made the adjustments, and, you know, now we're ready to go. We don't foresee any problems. If we do, it's only here, but we took these steps in order to mitigate that. This is the same type of thing. You want to get as much experience under your belt, and when you're in those meetings, you're talking about it, where they're just like, holy shit, they're not a problem. That's what they want at the end of the day. They want content delivered on time, within or under budget, and you're not a problem all throughout the process.
Charles, I had a question about, is there anything like a concept deck, not a pitch deck, but a concept deck, a PowerPoint that we can look at just for exercise purposes? I want to be able to have the title of the show and everything else that we can have in a folder so that I can start to put everything in one place for record keeping and for review.
No, we don't have that again because the goal was just to get everything in the can first, and then we start sorting all that stuff out later on. It was easy to, have that, war room session of like, who the hell are we going to shoot first? Secure that, get them in the can, and then start working out the logistics of cleaning up every episode from offline editing through online editing.
Okay. So just in summary, I want to make sure I have this right. There's 1 or 2 episodes in LA that need to be shot to be put in the can the same as the other episodes. Is it 1 or 2?
2, I believe. So we want to do Mike Starr and another guy named Dwayne Buford. Actually, Sergio, you would get a kick out of this. He's from Chicago as well, but yeah, a lot of Chicago connection there. But yeah, so yeah, two more interviews.
Okay. And in a perfect world, when would you like to start principal photography for these interviews?
That's Reginald. I'll let you take it over there. Reginald, you're on mute.
Sorry, I'm heading out to the car. Yeah, so in a perfect world, because I'm going to be, my stint between here and Sweden actually starts in August. I would like to get this done as soon as possible. That's been my push. So of course, there are some dates that are not going to work because I know Charles is going to be away. There are some dates that I'm going to have to be away. But as soon as we can put together a team and start looking at the possibility of doing this sooner than later, that would be the goal I would like.
Well, yes and no. So remember, Dwayne, he has to get out here from Chicago, and he's not available until June 10th.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be within the next 10 days anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, we just want to make sure they know because we I can see Sergio,
it won't be like next week.
Ready to go and grab some cameras now. But yeah, so June 10th, I leave for Tampa on the 24th. So I would say anytime from June 10th through the 24th, is a good window of trying to get the interviews done.
When you guys have shot the other episodes, how many cameras or what cameras have you used?
We had three camera setup, and the cameras that were used, I think, were all Sony. And then specifically like the models, I can get that. I don't know that offhand.
Yeah, those are kind of one of the specs that we needed. And then what editing software was used to try to match up the look and the feel of the cameras in the final editing.
Yeah, we're gonna have to reach out to because Michael actually, Pierce, he shot some of those episodes, and so he has the specs on like all the filters, color correction, like obviously the camera, which cameras he used. I don't think it was a DLR, but his equipment is network and streaming proof, so it's pretty high end. Not to say that cameras under that couldn't find a way to still match that consistency of that camera, but we can get that information for you. Because then before you went overseas, Reginald, didn't you have to get that information to the camera crew that you used in Sweden and Tanzania so they could match those styles?
Sorry, it went from Wi-Fi to data. Sorry, guys, I'm making some transitions here. What was your question again?
When you went over to Sweden and in Africa to shoot those episodes, did Michael supply you with all of the information about the cameras? So the cinematographers there could match match those styles.
Yeah, so he did. I remember asking him
You cut out. Well, regardless. Oh, there you go. Reginald, you cut out for probably good 25 seconds or so. Okay, he's still cut out. So regardless, we'll get it for you.
Okay. And I guess, we know Mike. Is there any reason why he wouldn't be shooting these episodes? Because we want to just make sure in clear communication with him that we're not taking any liberties with any contact that he's already established.
No, we already talked to Michael about that.
Okay.
Michael and I've been working together for years. I had hired Michael to do things for another business that I had years ago, and then he was actually hired to do the Swedish show, when the pilot that we shot. He did it was shot, some was shot in Sweden and some was shot here in LA, and he shot the stuff here. So I've known Michael for years, and I've already talked to him about working with you guys. He's got a ton of stuff on his plate anyway, so that's why it kind of works out.
Okay, good.
But if you want to follow up with him, know him.
Oh no, we're good. I mean, we run into him. Actually, we've actually proposed to him to do some work with him on another project, but I just wanted to make sure that we knew where the lanes were and where they could merge at any point down the road. So we're good. I just needed to get that answered. So does anybody else have any questions, suggestions, or comments before we break contact? And again, we'll get the statement of work and we'll go over it as a group and then respond back to Charles and Dr. Reginald.
I'll throw that in the chat right now. Let me see. Let's see it run in my mouth and forgot.
But Charles, you can just send it to me, and I'm going to send it, out as an invite so we can go over it in
Got it.
an after action review.
Got it.
What we talked about.
I'll do it after the call then.
Yes, some of the people that didn't make the call, especially the camera, the shooters, the editors, sound and lighting people, they didn't make this call, so they're going to be very interested in what the opportunity is and the challenges. So we're good.
The challenge is mostly, again, it's talking heads. The B-roll, it may be somewhat of a challenge, but it's, you guys are production people. It's not going to be an issue. The challenge is really going to be in the room of really figuring out how to construct the narrative, how to juxtapose these different images and videos and sound with what the subjects are saying in their interview. That's going to be the most of the challenge. And so, Ryan, when we were talking, she just popped off. When we were talking about that, this is where I was saying I'm going to challenge you guys, because that is going to be the biggest challenge of seeing your vision of where you see the episode going. The execution of everything is going to be very, is pretty straightforward. But, from a lighting standpoint, when you, I guess maybe from a technical standpoint, not knowing the location where you're going to be shooting, those types of things, that could be a challenge. But, I don't think it'd be a big deal compared to a lot of scripted shows, car chases, and those types of things.
Right, and so that was a good statement you made, Charles. So the interviews they are talking head pieces, but are they? Is there anybody interviewing them that's going to be in the actual final cut, or is it just them talking and somebody off camera asking them questions so that they can actually get the sound bites and the responses?
I can answer that. And both of the Swedish interviews, there was somebody interviewing them. And the Taj interview, it's off camera. And we won't even discuss so much the Frank Renzulli, because there's going to be work to be done there. That'll be off camera. So some are on, some are off.
Okay.
Here's where, again, Kevin, I don't want to be prescriptive in this, because I'll say I found Taj, the VC who grew up, the guy who's wearing the hat. I found Taj, but I didn't interview him. Reginald actually interviewed him. And it was for a reason, because I knew there was going to be a different connection between he and I versus he and Reginald. There are going to be times now that was strictly an interview. In my interview, the way I interview people, you've seen me at Microsoft, the way when I was the MC on, you know, for those musicians up there. Like my style is literally connecting, bringing personal experiences, you know, along with you know with their journey that I know about. So to answer your question, I see where you're going with your question. Is this more Barbara Walters style where you're cutting to Barbara asking the question, or is it we're just piecing together what the question is from what the subject is talking about? And the answer is it depends, because if Sergio is interviewing someone, you know, from who has a lot of similarities as him, we want to have him on camera. So all that's going to be kind of a creative, you know, kind of a creative choice at the end of the day. As long as we find that way to have a consistent look and feel throughout the show, everything else we want to keep it fluid. At the end of the day, we want to find a way to engage the audience and keep everybody just, you know, eyes glued to the content.
Okay, again, anybody have any last questions, suggestions, or comments? Because I've got some ideas rolling in my head, but I want to make sure that give everybody else a chance so we can look at the statement of work and start proposing what we would like to do with these two interviews. Anybody else? Okay, I think we got enough to noodle on, James. I mean, Charles and Dr. Reginald. I think we have enough to get started with.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to working with you guys. Kevin, I'm sure you'll circle back with me, just figure out, you know, what your team came back with, ways that we can move forward. But I would like for you guys to just look at these last two episodes as the stepping stone, is the litmus test for season 2, which is where you really get to shine. Not to say you're not going to get credit on these last two, because your names are going to be on that too, but you're going to own the ones in season 2. That's going to be better, where like this is my stamp is on this episode I put together. I came up with the idea. That's where we're looking at. These last 2 episodes is just kind of, you know, getting your feet wet to kind of understand how you can get to would be done season 2.
And Charles, I have something that just came across my desk. If we got Mike, is he the kind of person who could speak from the point of view of like a mentor who could talk about his journey to the industry and anything he can give back in terms of knowledge, or some type of testimony as to what he would do for his younger self? Because if that could happen, I could see him getting sound bites from him, but I could also see him addressing a group of young creatives.
Are you talking about Mike Starr?
Yeah, and having some type of response or some B-roll of him actually addressing a group of people who are really in real time, in real world, these folks.
Let me tell you something. You're going to learn quickly about Mike Starr. The reason I met Mike Starr through Frank Renzulli. So Frank Renzulli started out as an actor, actually. He was he and Mike Starr had been in a few movies together. By the time I met Mike, he was, you know, he's already working with De Niro and Scorsese, and, you know, some of the biggest names in directing. When I saw how Mike worked with people in general, I felt like he was being underutilized. So Frank is 15, 16 years older than me. I don't know what Mike's age is. I think he's around the same age as Frank. So me coming and being a younger guy, I was, you know, always let the adults have their thing. I'm the young snot nose, don't get in their business, that type of thing. So I was more observant than anything. But when I got an opportunity to do a project on my own, I wanted to work with Mike, not only because he's a professional on the set, but because he's patient. And so when the project came across my desk, I called him up, and I didn't know him as well as I know him now. Like we're texting buddies now, but at the time, I felt like it was a hard ask. And I said, Mike, I got a role for this in this film. I don't know if there's any money, but blah 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 blah. He said, okay, send me the script. He read the script. He said, Charles, it's fantastic. Where's this going to be shot? And I said, well, it's going to be shot in different locations, this, that, and the other. I said, but I want to ask you to be more than just a performer in it. I want you to be a producer. And he said, I don't know anything about producing. I said, yes, you do. You just don't think you do. And what I need is a diplomat, an ambassador on the set to keep the peace. You're going to be dealing with younger people, and I want you to be able, when people are trying to hold up the set, be able to talk to them, to show them how to conduct themselves on the set, share your life experiences. And that dude, it was like, holy shit, no one's ever asked that of me. And he's taken that role, and he's like really lived up to it. That's why we work together. So to answer your question, he will be more than delighted.
Yeah, because
You
what I
probably
could,
won't get him to shut up.
yeah, what I
But he
love,
just loves those things.
yeah, I'd love to see if there's a way for us to get some sound bites from him about, his experiences in mentoring people like yourself, or even mentoring a situation with his knowledge, skills, capabilities, and influence, and creating workflow, or process. And
Put together your questions, anything you want to ask, he'll do it.
right. So I'm saying that he could be as one of the Hollywood guys trying to provide ways for anybody, young, old, or in between, to figure out how does one comport themselves in this town, in a position where they could actually learn from him. So kind of almost like an ask me anything type of scenario. But some of the B-roll would be him actually in a real room holding court. Would that be
I don't think
something?
that's an issue. I don't think that would be an issue.
So, I mean, again, it could be like a chat with Sergio and Ryan, in between him talking about, kind of a fireside chat about those things, but having possibly B-roll of other people asking Q&A of him, showing his films and all that kind of stuff. So that
Okay, so you're producing now, and that's a good thing. I'll show you how to do that where it comes across natural, because what you don't want to do is put so much in talent's head about what you're about to do, because it'll fall apart. So we can set up that scene, we'll just make sure he doesn't know that we're going to be doing that, but we'll set it up. And I guarantee you, if we got a table and area set up, cameras already there, I'll just, hey, Mike, do me a favor, sit down and talk to them about XYZ. Walk away, let the cameras roll. You get everything you need.
okay. Yeah,
I
'cause
couldn't agree more.
he could be.
It would, yeah.
I'm sorry, go. Yeah, he could be the one person that I can think of that could give some of these young people and old people like myself some gems of his experience and what he's learned about being in the industry as long as he's been in it, and anything else he can give us as his take on where things are now and where they might be going.
So it's not just going to be him. And this is kind of going along with the learning lessons of, some of the things that I want to, share with you guys, is that I have other people that I'm going to be bringing in. I don't want you just listening to me all the time. I want you to hear from people who are active, or people who have already done it. I'm going to eventually drag Frank out, or if not, I'm going to drag you guys toward him. So you can hear this, and this be with the camera or without a camera, but it's important that you know it. My buddy Corey, we grew up in the business together. We started out at Warner Brothers at Lois and Clark together. We went back and forth. I was working, he wasn't, he was working, I wasn't. And we are always trying to find that one show that was going to springboard us to, like having that where we could relax. I never found it, part of the reason is because of this, but he found it through that show, through CSI Miami. And now he's one of the most sought out, quiet producers, in the industry. I just talked to him yesterday. He's doing something with Shaq's company. So we can, and he's got to deal with Netflix. I think you got something going with Netflix too, Kevin. But regardless, this guy, he's another one, a veteran of the business that I, like to, find some way to have him talk to you guys. Even if it turns out to be a Zoom call, just any way so you guys can really understand what the hell is going on out there.
Right. Well, I just put in the chat this bigger opportunity for me to address a group of folks who are really the problem that I want to try to create a solution for, is that there's a lot of people getting paid internships, but after the paid internships are over, they're kind of left with nothing.
Out to fend for themselves.
And so this organization that started by Ryan Reynolds has really run aground because they don't have the funding or the infrastructure to do anything after the funding from the city of LA runs out. They can't support any hiring of these people. And so I've got close to about 40 something people from 2 different organizations who have fed people like Group Entertainment Initiative interns, and their internships are all up, and they are now looking for some direction. So that's why I was thinking about a group setting, maybe not for Mike, but at some point being able to address these folks about some kind of way to at least give them some hope and some insight on what they can do to get ahead of some problems that everybody's having, trying to figure out how to get stability in this industry.
Yeah, we can talk about that and come up with a process as we move forward. But I think the low-hanging fruit and certainly the the immediate task is getting this done, and then once we start moving forward, we can start putting maybe integrating a program in place, using some of those things that I was talking about, like to have Mike Starr and have my buddy Corey and get Frank to just talk with the crew, with the team about things they may face in the business and how to avoid those barriers.
Okay.
So
all right,
we can figure all that out.
I'm done, guys.
Going.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get going. I'm gonna email this to you, Kevin. And I look forward to working with you guys. Makari, keep your shirt on, man. You're making us old guys look bad.
Yeah, it's not good for any of us.
Yeah, man. I don't
Insecurities,
appreciate that.
My bad. I'm over here still getting ready.
I'm just messing with you. So yeah, no, I appreciate you guys in advance, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
All right.
For your time,
Yeah,
guys.
this was great.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
All right, bye-bye.
All right.